What's up, John boy?
How's things down there in Cabo?
Can't complain.
No one would listen if you did complain about that anyway.
Only bad news is that we leave on Sunday, so most of our week is over. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Denny, I think you are host right now. Would you do me a favor and make me
sure.
host?
Will do.
Thank you.
Where are you here? You're coming up as Sherry.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. Let me fix that too. How's that? I'm no longer Sherry.
That'll work. You are in control.
Awesome.
Ryan, you in Knoxville?
Ryan, you're muted, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder why nobody was responding to me. I am in Knoxville. I told most of my team to join us today, so we'll see who jumps on here. So,
yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. You saw the headline? I don't know if you saw the article that I posted. Did you have a chance to look at that?
which one did you post? Which one are you talking about?
The buyer sentiment right now, it's the lowest it's been in history.
Oh yeah, so I'll send you a link to a guy I follow. He goes over all the stats and statistics, and right now he's actually going over his last thing that he went over nationwide. He just bounces around all over the place. Talks about inventory and what's on the market and how inventory compares to last year. And you're seeing, if you were to draw a line north and south, right down the middle of the U.S., everything to the west, excluding like right along the coastline, San Diego, that area, inventory's up big time. Some of the major city centers like Phoenix, inventory is still down, but as soon as you get outside of that center onto the rural areas, inventory is up big time. So we're really starting to see a rise in inventory, especially in the west. Florida, you guys, hasn't hit you yet. Your inventory is still low, especially where you're at, Denny. But once again, actually most of the states that way in Florida, it hasn't hit over there yet. But once you get into like Georgia or anywhere around you, I mean, and you start getting into the rural areas, inventory has gone up 30-40%. So what does that tell you, Denny, if you see inventory rising all over the place?
Well, basically, I mean, if you're living in Florida, that's the same as the barometric pressure changing. And we always monitor the weather satellites, always monitor the coast of Africa for disturbances. And these cloud formations will look like a storm is forming. And then we watch the barometer. Inventory is the barometer of the real estate market. So sales and pendings are a secondary inventory to watch. So, John, why don't you kick us off? Well, we've got 2 more minutes yet. So we may have some other people who have some insights into this. This is going to be a real important show because I want to talk about some things because I think what Ryan is saying, I've been hearing from Kristen, my wife, who's in many different markets around the country. And because it's not raining where you are, doesn't mean it's not raining somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to be talking about that.
Oh, Daniel Dykes is one of my agents. What's up, Daniel? He's in Knoxville.
Is that your team?
That's one of my team. Yep.
Denny, did you do any fishing while you were down there this time?
Did not. We don't do that.
Where were you?
I don't even know what to say to that.
We're in Cabo. Turn my camera around. You can see where I'm looking at the. That's not really the ocean. I'm looking at the Gulf of whatever, California or Baja Gulf or whatever. Well, John, it's 1 o'clock. Kick us off, my friend.
All right, guys, welcome to another edition of Denny Delivers with Denny Grimes, and today I'm playing the part of Sonny Hammermeister, who is not here today.
And the voice, you're always the voice.
And the voice is it's a little bit of a hoarse voice today, and that's all right. So we're going to be talking a lot today about buyer sentiment. And the beauty of a call like this is we have people from all over the country. So we kind of get a feel for what's going on. Those that are jumping on now missed a little bit about Ryan was talking about areas of the country where inventory is growing exponentially and other areas where it's still on a decline. So we're going to find markets are shifting in different parts of the country right now. And we're going to talk a lot about how to handle that. So, Denny, what do you got?
Well, hello, everyone. And yes, if you just logged on, I'm finishing up. We are finishing up our vacation here in Cabo. And I wouldn't miss this call for the world, one of my favorite events of the week. And I've got some of my favorite people on board. So feel free to participate. And what we always want to do is be cutting edge. And as you know, if you've been on these calls before, I generally start with the thought of the day. Well, yesterday, and there's all kinds of news sources and there's all kinds of people and saying, hey, look, the sky is falling, right? I don't pay attention to every negative article that's written. However, this one caught my eye. It was circulated by Inman News. And just a little aside, if you guys want to kind of get a handle on the market and kind of know what the news cycle is going to be, you should be putting some Google alerts out on some of the opinion leaders that you follow. Maybe if you're Keller Williams, it may be Gary Keller, Inman News, Lawrence Yun, YUN from the National Association of Realtors, because they're always reporting on something. And when they report, other news services pick it up, and then eventually filters down into TV stories, news stories, maybe in your papers. And so I want you to be able to be seeing these things before your customers do. So the headline yesterday was buyer sentiment at an all-time low. Like only 25% of the potential buyers out there are thinking it's a good time to buy. So it made me think a little bit is that here's my thought of the day, you guys. I want to give you in my opinion, the basics of how the market works. And I believe the market will hit a tipping point at some point in time. Now, Ryan was just sharing. Ryan, why don't you give us your little rendition, your Reader's Digest version of the person you're following and what people are seeing around the country in inventory. And Ryan's in Knoxville, but he has his fingers around all over the place.
So if you look at inventory right now, places like Prescott, Arizona, for example, one of our agents pulled all the information in Prescott, and I think we're up in the last 3 weeks. We're up. It's almost 30% in inventory. It's gone up significantly. Now, Prescott, if you guys know Arizona, Prescott's kind of a satellite. It's about an hour and a half north of Phoenix, which is the main hub there. If you were to draw a line north and south, right down the middle of the U.S., basically everything to the west, the western half, the Rocky States, all the way out to California, your major cities like Phoenix, San Diego, Los Angeles, all their inventory is still low compared to last year. But anything in the suburbs, anything that's kind of outside those major areas, they're seeing inventory spike. Inventory is going up quickly. We're seeing some areas 30, 40% year over year compared to this time last year. So you're seeing inventory rise. Things are sitting on the market a little bit longer is what's going to happen next. But really, that's what I'm watching. Areas like Central Valley in California, you get over into the desert areas, inventory is rising, but you get right along the coastline, it's still, they don't have a whole lot. Florida, Denny's area, inventory is low. Florida hasn't seen it yet. Tennessee hasn't seen it yet. Nashville, we're kind of flat year over year on inventory, but that's what we're seeing.
So awesome. So you're going to ask, okay, so what does that mean to you? Let me kind of break it down for you for a few minutes. And let's have some conversations around this. Number one is, so when a news story hits, remember, media outlets don't have all these reporters they used to have and all these people going. You can watch all the presidents, man, back the Robert Redford days when they had all these investigative type people. They don't. I mean, I get filmed a lot for the real estate stories, and I used to have the news reporter come out, and they've got a cameraman and an assistant. Now the news reporter is coming out with a cell phone and recording the story, right? And so they look for the easy way to pick up a story. So when a national story hits that buyer sentiment is an all-time low, everyone seems to be looking to break a story. Just like when you go on a YouTube channel or whatever, or they call it clickbaiting, right? They want you to click on the story. Now, so what does it mean to you? Well, if that happens to hit a national wire and basically, and they're talking about another part of the country. In this particular article, they're talking about the whole country, and you have a buyer that reads it. What's the probability that buyer is going to click through the story and read everything on that story and then decipher what the implications are to them in their specific market? Can you say about zero? Because people are going to look at the headline. Now, I wrote this down. So imagine you are looking to buy something in real estate. Maybe you are. However, I'm sure you know buyers, you work with buyers, or you might know some agents who are working with buyers. Here's the question I want to ask. Can you find any reason why a buyer would want to be hesitant in this market? You can put it in the chat. Why would a buyer want to be hesitant? And let me just kind of, while you're putting your thoughts together or putting in the chat, why would a buyer want to buy when he reads an article that says 25%, 75% of buyers don't think it's a good time to buy? What about when they read an article that in some of these markets, inventory is rising? Why would they buy when interest rates are rising, right? Why would they buy in a market that in some markets, inventory is low and sellers are still stubborn? And oh, by the way, inflation is running through the roof and there's a war going on in Europe. Can you think of any other reasons buyers may want to be hesitant? That's kind of a good enough reason for most people, wouldn't you think? And so let me ask you this question. Buyers read that, they get scared. Let's go to the beginning of a market cycle. Who wants to answer this? Who controls the market? Buyers or sellers? Anyone can answer.
Buyers.
All right, we have a buyer. Who else? Anybody want to take the seller side of it? Anybody?
Well, I think they both do.
All right, tell me more about that.
I think that without a seller cooperating, a buyer can't buy, and without a buyer cooperating or wanting to buy a home, seller can't sell.
Right. Well, I think it's certainly a symbiotic relationship. Here's my opinion on this, and this is my blink. They say there's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. So I'm going to lean a little bit towards that the buyers control the market. And here's how I'm going to demonstrate this. And I don't even like the word control because the sellers have to cooperate. I want you to write this down so you understand this and you can articulate it to a potential seller. Buyers set the rules. That's what it is. The control, buyers set the rules. Now, case in point, any one of you guys in any of your markets, you've got sellers out there, you've got buyers. Let's say you're going to have, you set up a group me for all your sellers in your particular area and say, tell you what, sellers, we're all going to do a pinky promise right now that we're not going to change our price. In fact, all of this, we're going to raise our price 10% and we are not going to lower it. We're going to, damn the torpedoes, we're going to get buyers to come to us. Will they win that battle?
Nope.
They will not. They will not win the battle because the buyers set the rules. Now, individual buyers can be crazy and nutty and whatever. However, the market as a whole is very efficient. So those sellers can say and raise their price. What will buyers do? If sellers are unreasonable, buyers will go and seek other alternatives. I want you to imagine a glass of water, and when you get it to the top of filling it full of water, or I'd like to use this term Chardonnay, but I don't like to see Chardonnay spill over the top. So when the water gets to the top, it will spill over. That's the limit that basically that vessel will hold water. The market's the same way. When sellers don't respond properly, the buyers will seek alternatives. What are alternatives? In my area, they'll go inland. They'll leave Fort Myers or Naples and they'll go north till they find something. Again, they're not geographically bound. They may rent. They may find other sources, another alternative. Maybe they will just wait. So here's the important thing in this, you guys. Understand, buyers set the rules and the sellers will have to play by the rules. The thing that worries me the most is this. It takes the sellers to cooperate, because the longer the sellers take to cooperate to the new rules set by buyers, the harder we're going to work and the less sales we're going to have. I'm going to let that sink in, and somebody repeat back to me what I just said, because that is in the essence of what a cycle is.
The longer it takes the buyers or the sellers to cooperate, the harder we're going to work, and the longer it's going to take to get the same amount of sales.
Y'all understand that? And why that's important is this. When buyers cool off, typically, and again, buyers, you guys, here's what happens first. We feel the difference, and then eventually the numbers start showing the difference. And what that survey said, in some cases, the numbers aren't down yet, but buyer sentiment is down. That will lead to the sales going down. Then what will be next is you'll see fewer showings on your home. You'll see less offers. You'll see buyers becoming a little bit more picky again. Why? Because they're setting the rules. And the unfortunate thing and the challenge for us is this. Sellers will be in denial. Write that down. They will not buy into a shift until they have to buy into a shift. And it's a tug of war, you guys, and the buyers always win. So what does that mean for us? So in our conversations, is it, you think the heavy lifting is going to be us convincing buyers is now is a good time to buy, in spite of all the things that I just went through and the things you put in the chat? Or is our conversation going to be geared towards sellers? The sooner you capitulate, the better. So I want you to put in the chat, just so you know, and we can have a discussion about it. Is the market shifting where you are? Yes, no, I don't know, I don't care, maybe. Yes,
So
yes.
Denny, I've got a question for you on this, and
Okay.
you and I have not had this discussion, so this is totally coming out of left field as far as you're concerned. For everyone that's putting in, is the market shifting? I'm one of those that believes that the market is always shifting. Now, my question is are we looking at a market that is struggling to find its new stable point, or its new threshold, its new range threshold? Similar to stocks, sometimes stocks will bounce up and down between price points, and then they break through that threshold, and that threshold establishes a new floor in their pricing for stability.
It's a great
That makes
question.
sense?
I agree with you. The market is always shifting. And I don't know that I have an answer for it, but here's the thing that I think is important to understand. For every buyer and seller, there is a situation going on in the market that again, there is something that's going on. It's up or down or flat or whatever. However, it's the individual buyers and sellers that we work with. We do not work with the market as a whole. We work with individual buyers and sellers, and their opinion of it is the only thing that matters to them. So let's start with, if you don't mind, John, why don't we start with a conversation where you're working with a buyer, and the buyer happens to see this article come out. And of course, we've got other things going on, and maybe you have, this is not a cold relationship. You've been working with them over the last month or so. And now this article comes out and say, look, consumer confidence or buyer sentiment is down, lowest level ever. And I'm feeling a little bit like the market's eroding out from under me. I'm not near as bullish on buying. How would you have that conversation? So who would like to step up as an agent that maybe is dealing with that? It has those conversations with buyers right now in our question-based, listing-enhanced conversational method.
Incidentally, Denny, we've got 90% of the people that responded to your question about the market shifting responded, yes, it's shifting or it's about to.
All right, so let's do this really quick before we go into the role play. One more thing, you guys, get your fingers ready, spirit fingers. Let's go. Bring it on. All right, love that movie. What if you had to ask sellers out there if they think the market is slowing? What do you think your sellers would say? Not, no, it's not. No. Let's see if we get the 90% or 90% or greater of what sellers are thinking. And I see more no's just popping up there, John. You can kind of keep a tally on that. So do you see where the challenge may be? And if you were to ask buyers, it'd probably be the other thing. So the other answer. So let's go into the conversation. We're going to handle buyer and seller on this. And let's see if we can, if you can have a conversation with a buyer with a seemingly a barrage of negative information. And I had to smile a little bit when I was preparing for this class. For the unsuspecting agents out there, agents, we've had a difficult time with buyers over the last 2 years, maybe. You had COVID, the market may be getting too hot. It was an upward moving market. Have you ever thought in your life you'd have to be selling in a downward moving market? Like now you want me to buy a ticket to the Titanic? Come on now. I think I'll take I'll take Carnival. So John, let's find some people that want to go through that role play with the buyer and the buyer hesitancy. I'm not hearing you, John.
That's because I had my mic off. So Whitney was and she's laughing at that. Whitney was the first person that I saw that said she's definitely seeing a shift in her marketplace. So she is going to be the agent having the discussion with the buyer, and let's have some fun with it. Ryan, you haven't started to shift yet in your market, so this will kind of get you a little warmed up in the Knoxville area. You're going to be the buyer.
I'm going to be the buyer.
You're going to be the buyer where the market is shifting.
How about you be the agent and I'll be the buyer? I work with more sellers, so I need help.
You definitely need help. You definitely need the practice working with buyers, so that's why we did this.
All right, Ryan, be in question. Get your question hat on.
Oh, God. Okay, Ryan, so tell me, you're hearing all this information, and what concerns you most about the market?
Well, in my market, because it's still hot, I'm concerned that there's nothing out there for me.
So you're not seeing any homes that fit your needs on the market?
I see a home and it's gone in 10 seconds. Every single time we see one that we like, it's gone, and prices just keep on going up and up.
Okay, I understand your concern. And you don't have to sell before you buy, is that correct?
No.
Okay.
We're renting right now, so we're on a month to month.
Okay, that's good. And have you locked in your interest rate?
No.
You know they're paying cash, by the way. I'm going to interrupt.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so tell me, you obviously see things are moving fast. Everything you like is gone in 2 seconds. What's stopping you from making a move when you see something you like?
Well, I'm waiting for the market to change, and I don't know right now. It doesn't seem like it's doing that. And I'd buy something if I found the right property. But my question is every single time we go looking, it just seems like there's nothing out there.
Okay, and what I just heard you say is you're waiting for the market to change. Tell me more about that, because the market is changing. I'm just curious about your point of view.
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I mean, everything that's it seems like prices just keep on continuing to rise, and there's nothing out there.
Okay, so other than the market changing, is there anything else stopping you from moving forward when you see one of these houses you like?
No, if we can find one, we'll jump on it.
Okay, so new inventory hits the market every day.
I'm going to stop right now. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I'm doing a good job on this one as a.
You're actually you're a gift wrap client. I mean, so I mean,
Yeah.
where do you take that? It's all right. So then If everything you're seeing is selling, then we need to get you ahead of inventory. Would you like to get ahead of it instead of be behind it? Then get them signed up in a loyalty agreement.
Yep.
So I'm going to pray every night when I go to bed. I want more buyers like Ryan. Who's going to raise their hand with buyers like Ryan, right?
And that's Tennessee right now. If you want me to act like Arizona, I can do that.
Well, Ryan, I'll tell you what, we're going to switch it up a little bit. You're going to be the agent who is in San Diego, where the market is definitely shifting. All right. And Whitney is now going to be the buyer. We're going to switch the roles. The market is shifting, and the concern is obviously buying at the top of the market. What's going to happen?
They just saw the article. 75% of buyers think it's a bad time to buy, and I'm one of those 75%. Whitney, can you put your witch hat on?
Yes, I'll do my best.
Okay.
Put your mask hole on.
let me rechannel that energy.
Okay, Whitney. So let me ask you a question. Do you think the market right now is working for you or against you?
Oh, my heart's beating pitter patter. The meat thermometer question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's working against me because home values are up and
Okay. So the home values are up, and do you feel like they're going to continue to go that direction, or what do you feel like the market's doing right now?
I don't know. I feel like it might crash, so it might be a good time to wait.
Okay. So do you feel like interest rates are working for you or against you right now?
Well, they're definitely going up, which also concerns me. And things are moving really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you going to be paying cash for a home, or are you going to be financing a home, Whitney?
I'm already pre-approved.
Okay. So we're going to be doing a finance.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. What did you get pre-approved for? How much are we looking at?
$850.
$850. And at what interest rate?
4%.
4%. Okay. And what happens as interest rates slowly rise? Because the Fed announced they'll raise them 6 more times this year. What do you think is going to happen to that $850 that shows on your pre-approval letter? Is it going to go up or down?
Well, I heard that's the Fed raising rates, and I guess it's not tied to mortgage.
Everything the Fed does is directly tied to mortgage. So, obviously interest rates are going to go up, whether it's mortgage, credit cards, or anything else. If interest rates go up, how is that going to affect your buying power?
I probably won't be able to afford out here.
I'm going to just raise my hand and just put a time out here just for a second. So Ryan, you're elected to drill on interest rates.
Well, I'm gonna go somewhere else here soon, but okay.
Where is her sweet spot?
Her sweet spot for interest rate?
Where is her pain point? You're drilling, and I'm doing this for the benefit of the people that are listening. Hang on, let me just finish. He's going down the interest rate, which is a valid lever, yet she's not articulated that's a major pain point for her yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking Ryan, what is her major pain point?
Her monthly payment is going to be her major pain point.
The market is going to crash, right?
Well, wait a minute. Now wait. Did she mention anything about monthly payment?
Not yet.
Well, okay. So then what is her pain point?
I think she thinks the prices will go down, and she's stuck buying it still at a higher rate.
Okay. Well, here's the reason for my asking a question. Yeah, I don't really like dentist analogies because I don't like dentists. However, I'm going to use one. Don't drill a tooth until you know it's the right one.
That's right.
So, Ryan says monthly payment maybe, but I don't know that that's been articulated. Write this down, you guys, unless you're driving or in a tanning booth. If you don't know, isolate to find out what is the number one thing that bothers her. So just going back to model now, Ryan has his method. I mean, obviously he sells hundreds and hundreds of homes a year. However, I'm just saying to you guys, don't drill until you know.
Yeah, you're right.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
You're absolutely right. The next question should be, other than that, is there anything else that's keeping you from moving forward?
Well, she mentioned things in the market made me, that was the last role play. Let's assume that she's afraid, forget about I want you to drill down on, she thinks it's now is a bad time to buy. 75% of the buyers agree with her. And, you know, interest rates are going up. There's a war. Biden's president and Hunter's laptops out there. So I'm not buying.
So Whitney, so you're concerned that prices of homes are going to go down?
Yes.
So let me just ask you, are you afraid that you would be buying high and not being able to in the future sell it for the same price that you buy that?
Well, I'm just looking at, hey, it's listed for 900 now. What if in 4 months it's 700?
Whitney, how long are you planning on holding this home for or staying in it?
5 to 10 years.
Okay. This is going to become my new best friend. Hold on one second. This is a chart that Gary Keller drew recently. And I want you guys to look at this because I think you're thinking that the market goes like this, Whitney, where it goes up and down, up and down, and up and down in a straight line, where really it goes like this. See how it continues to climb?
Yes.
So if you go back over the last 10 years, there's never been a time where if a 10-year period that your home would be worth less than when you bought it.
That makes sense.
Now, all right, I'm going to stop. Right? Is that fact or emotion?
Fact.
That's fact.
Okay. And
But
lots of
emotion's what makes people move. So
So, all right. Oh, by the way, just as an aside, and you heard Gary say that, you've heard Kristen say that drives me nuts. That is not actually true, what Gary said. However, just for clarity's sake, the essence is what he's saying. If you'd have bought in the bubble years of 5 or 6, look at it and look at the 10 years, you'd have been below. So for that statement to be true, other than the bubble years of 2 years out of 40 or 50 or 60. So not the split hairs. In general, you're right. Now, again, what I like about what Ryan did, particularly if he's having a conversation, he's interjecting something for someone to see. And you don't have to be an artist. The Sharpie works great if you want to get a point across, particularly to a C personality. All right. So I'll let you kind of, don't lay down. I'll let you, I'll see if you can land the plane, Ryan.
So Whitney, other than that, is there anything else that would keep you from buying a home in this market?
Besides low inventory, no.
Okay. So if we were able to find you the right home at the right price that you like, would you move forward and working with us to find you that house today?
Yeah.
All right, here's my buyer broker agreement. Let's go.
No, I'm taking over. She's
Am I
not.
supposed to be a witch?
She was easy. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You're not. That's not real. Where's your broom? Who can? I'm gonna step in. No, I'm not gonna buy. And I think 75% of the people out there agree with me. Now is a bad time to buy. And I understand that 10-year crap, but what if I have to move in 5 years?
Okay. Let me ask you this. So it sounds like to me money's important to you. Is that correct, Denny?
Well, I probably wouldn't phrase it that way. I mean, money's important to everybody, right? I mean, do you want to lose money?
I don't want to lose money. Do you want to lose money?
No. So, I mean,
Okay. So if I could show you why buying now would actually save you money, even if the market goes down a little bit, would you be interested in that?
all right, now I'm listening. Okay, that was one of those questions that make me think. All right.
Okay. Is cost of living going up or going down right now, Denny?
Inflation, you mean?
Inflation. Yep.
I would think it's probably going up, right?
Okay. Now let me ask you this, and we're going to step aside. This is what I should have got in the background. Do you currently own a home, or are you renting, or what are you doing?
Now, I'm going to stop. You got to get to that point first.
Yep, you do.
I mean, all this other talk, I mean, you're not going to put it together. You've got to go to their situation. What's the alternative? What are you owning or renting? That is a huge question, you guys.
Yep.
So I'm going to, because you've got to go. All right. So, all right, great. Don't buy. Then tell me about your life over the next few years. And well, I rent right now.
Okay. So your rent, do you think it's going to go down or up in the next 10 years? Do you control your rent?
I don't control the rent. No.
No. If you see, this is where I need my chart, that wonderful chart, and you know which one I'm talking about. It talks about the cost of living, the cost of rent, and how your price is going to go up, where locking in your price in a mortgage is actually going to save you more money in the long run. You're purchasing your monthly payment. That's what you're doing right now.
Do you need a chart to get them to understand that?
No, you don't.
What if you were to just ask them a simple question, Ryan? So you be the buyer. He said, Ryan, I understand that you're worried about prices going down and so on. So how much are you paying in rent right now?
I pay $1,400 a month in rent.
Which is how much per year?
That's going to be 34,000, somewhere in there.
No, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. It's more like 16,000.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So we're having this conversation in a year. How much of that 16,000 do you get back if you're still renting?
Yeah, 16,800. None.
Wouldn't you want the opportunity to get some of that back?
Absolutely.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Well, when you own the home, every time you make a payment, regardless of whether or not the market goes up or down, you are putting money away in the form of equity in your property. Exactly what you're doing, by the way, for your landlord right now. Who's winning?
And you can raise your rent.
Do you want to win, or do you want to keep paying your landlord?
I want to win.
I'm going to interrupt here just a second. Nice job on the transition, John. And here's the point. I love visuals. Just make sure your visuals, you don't start telling instead of asking.
Yeah.
Last point on this, John, and John is great with numbers. So he's kind of like Rain Man. Any random number you give him, he can do multiplications of it, right? However,
please don't test me on that.
Yeah. So here's the thing I would say on the rent 1,400, don't ask them, well, then how much is that a year? Because they may not like math. And why don't you just, if you're good with math, well, that's about 16 grand a year, right? I know you want to ask him, but see, even Ryan, who's, I don't know where he stands, but even he got it wrong. And you don't want to make them feel wrong on that. So just be careful asking questions like that.
Hey, Denny.
Yes, sir. Don.
I had put in the chat a few minutes ago to go, what do you think about, what is your monthly rent? When can the landlord possibly raise that rent, and might that happen? And then come from that number standpoint.
Okay, stay there, Don. So, however, Don, I can handle, $300, $400, $500 a month. I can't handle a 25% reduction of equity.
Okay, so you can't handle a 25% reduction in equity. What caused you to think that that's going to happen? I'm just curious.
If the market, the market's gone up 50% in the last 2 years. Let's just say half that is eroded, and I bought it at the top of the market. So that's at 800,000, 8 and 8 and 16. That's $160,000 at my age, Don. I don't buy green bananas. So at my age, I can't lose $160,000 in equity.
Nobody can.
Ooh, don't say that.
Okay. Right. No one wants to lose $160,000. If you stay in your current property, though, are we putting money in the landlord's pocket, or are we putting money in your pocket, regardless of what the market's doing?
Here's my opinion, you guys. You can go down that road all day long. If they're afraid of losing a big chunk of money, they're not worried about rent and the landlord. The question is, how are you going to deal with somebody who fears the market's going to go down 15, 20, 25% in the next couple of years? How are you going to deal with that? Anybody? Anybody?
Brian Hood.
Ask a
all
question?
Yeah.
Yeah, and forgive me, I'm getting back into real estate for a second time, so you guys are way more experienced than me. But I might look at it as, for each point, and this is, I guess, an estimate, for each point interest rates go up, the buyer will lose about 10% of their buying power. So could you say, well, if the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates 5-6 times this year, even though they're not a direct raise, we all know it does affect interest rates. The longer we wait, you're going to be able to buy less and less home for the same payment. So, and if you do purchase, and it is a little bit high right now, if you're not going to sell in the next few years, that equity that you think you're going to lose, that's kind of a virtual number until the day you actually sell. Then it means something. Otherwise,
So Brian, how can you say that and shorten it? Because it's exactly right. You don't, and Margaret put it in the chat, you don't lose until you sell.
Maybe just to say here's 2 points I would make, Mr. Potential Buyer. One, if we do make a purchase and you're concerned about losing equity, it's a virtual number until you sell. If you're going to hold this property for a while, you're not going to lose anything until the day it comes to selling. And then we don't know what market conditions are going to be 3-5 years down the road. Second, if interest rates are going to rise, and they are, for each point an interest rate goes up, you're going to lose about 10% of your buying power, which means you're going to have less for the same payment.
All right. So Brian, I appreciate you doing that. Now, a couple things. We work on questions, so we'll work with you on and asking very short questions.
Okay.
When you say Fed to most people, you've lost them. You give them mathematical equations, you've lost them. What I'm suggesting you do here is do something different. Brian, I'll just stick with you because you're role playing. So you're afraid you're going to lose 20%. You know, you can't afford to lose 20% in your equity, right?
Yes.
All right. So other than that, is there any other reason why if the right home came along, you wouldn't act on it?
Well, I'm currently renting, so I don't want to rent any longer. So I'm just concerned with all the crazy things I'm hearing in the news. I don't know what's going to happen.
I get it. Other than that, that's all leading you to your fear of losing 20%. Let's just assume you just told me that. Other than that, is there anything else? What I'm doing is following the model. You acknowledge, isolate, answer, and you close. Other than that, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to take advantage of home ownership?
No.
Just say no.
No.
We don't. Yeah. So
no, because you just clarified it all for me.
All right. Now, here's what I'm suggesting we do. Instead of going to rent calculations and GDP and all this other crap, Brian, yeah, it's Brian, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Brian, what makes you think it's going to go down 20%?
Things I hear on the news.
Okay.
Quote, experts telling me this.
Okay. Have you ever heard something on the news that wasn't accurate?
Once or twice, yes.
Yes. Okay. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. What I'm doing is when you've got to give them it's simple. Give them the other side of the coin. Help them come to the conclusion. Okay. So what if it doesn't? Can you, are you certain it's going to go down 20%, Brian?
No, I'm not.
Is it possible it may still go up?
I suppose it could, yes.
Okay, and now you're going to go into the question Brian Ryan brought up. Well, and how long you plan on living there?
Oh, at least 5 years, maybe longer.
So if it's like 5 years or longer, is it possible that any minor fluctuation of the market won't even matter because you're not like going to buy it and flip it, are you?
No, I want to stay in the home for a while.
Now this is how I'm going to put the bow on the rental question. Rather than going into all these detailed things, let me ask you, what's the possibility in 5 or 10 years, if you stay where you are renting, that you'll have any equity?
Zero. I don't own it.
Well, which path gives you the potential of equity, owning or renting?
Owning.
So my question is, where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? Equity or without equity?
I'd like to have some equity.
Now, again, I didn't erase the fact that he's still worried about it going down 20%.
Okay.
However, in that very short conversation, what I attempted to model is this. Rather than fight him like a fish, I got to reel him in. I'm going to say, okay, you could be right. But what if you're not? Can you acknowledge you may not be right? And then if he's renting, he's into paying. All right, so what if he owns? Where's the pain point, you guys, if Brian owns?
If I own,
What would be a pain point if Brian owns a house?
You sell at a bad time, but
yeah,
Well, listen, you guys, people don't want to move. They don't want to pack up their things. It is not a fun process because it always rains on moving day. It's the hottest day of the freaking year. They don't like that process, right? They want to get bigger. They want to get smaller. They want to go north. They want to get south. They've got their mother-in-law living with them. They need space. They've got a baby coming. They got too much. You guys, we haven't talked about motivation one time. I don't care what the economics are. Is there still motivation for someone wanting to get bigger, smaller, north or south? Yes, yes. Is there ever a perfect time to buy? No. I mean, in the last 2 years, we've had property going up 20 to 40% a year, and buyers are still pushing back, right? It's called fear. Acknowledge their fear. I don't think you can mathematically remove it by talking about Fed stuff. And that's just my blink on it. I mean, maybe you guys can eat it up. Give me some pushback. Give me some ahas. Give me some knuckle bumps. Give me whatever you want. What are you hearing?
I literally had this very same conversation last night without realizing I had it. I was writing an offer for vice president of a bank last night, and he says to me, I'm reading in the news that we're expecting a recession and prices are already starting to come down in Phoenix. I'm in Tucson. And I said to him, I said, so, you know, what are you afraid of? And he said that I'm buying at the height of the market and that I'm going to be upside down. And I said, well, how long do you plan to live in your home? And he says, we're not going to move for another 10 years. And I said, the other thing is, when do you expect our market to go into this recession? Justin, when do you think? He's like, probably maybe 6 months at the earliest. I said, okay, well, currently our market is appreciating at about 1.75 to 2% per month. So if it is in 6 months, you've already increased your equity and you're good to go for the duration of your, you know, residency there. And he just said, yep, that makes sense. And we proceeded with the offer. So I knew their motivation because they're renting right now. And we talked about how much of the rent are you going to get back at the end of the year? And he said 0. And I said, well, at least every month you're going to have some equity going into your home. And if the market declines in 6 months, you've already built some equity as your cushion. So this all really just helped me to see that I just didn't recognize what I was doing. And this is very helpful. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Doing a good job. Hey, John, with a little bit we have left, let's take the other side, because if sellers or buyers are setting the rules, sometimes we're going to have conversations. For you guys that are new to real estate or newer in the last like year or two, I want you to write this. It's something you've never had happen before. It's called a price reduction. There's price reductions. We call it repositioning, you guys. So we might have to even see those. Don, can you imagine such a thing?
Unbelievable.
Never
Yes.
seen that.
So the challenge that comes in, you guys, when buyers on these markets start to dig in and dig in deeper, sellers are going to think it's going to pass like gas. You know, it's no big deal. It'll be over before you know it. Yet here's the thing that I want you to understand. If it's going to be a shifting market and there's downward pressure, I'm not talking about downward pressure on upward pressure. I'm talking about prices starting to retreat a little bit. I don't know if you're seeing that in your area. We haven't seen that yet, although it is not growing as fast. Understand, when prices start to fall, Katie, bar the door. Buyers will get ice cold on you. Why? Because every day that they wake up, they get a better buy. Where's the urgency in a falling market? So what do you have to do? Are you going to spend your time, you know, jawing with a buyer to get them to move? Or are you going to talk your sellers into reality to get ahead? Now, we use the slinky approach. You all remember the slinky. And, you know, in Florida, we didn't have many steps. But, when it goes down the steps, how do you catch the slinky, you guys? Anybody know? John, you know this?
Get ahead of it.
Get ahead of it.
Or what? One more option.
Falling down the stairs.
You
Oh,
wait
yeah,
for
chasing the market.
you either get ahead of it or wait for it to hit bottom. And sellers are way too slow to react to these things because they think it's just going to pass. Like, you watch one season of 1883, it's all over with. No, it can go on for a longer period. So let's have a conversation now with a seller. Who wants to be the agent talking to a seller in a changing market? Not a Phoenix market, but a changing one.
Margaret, thank you for that. I was hoping you would chime in here. So Margaret's going to be the agent in a changing market. Who is going to be the seller?
I'll be the seller.
All right, Denny, you be
You
the
guys are
seller.
way too nice.
You've got you've got a lot of pent up role play to do here from being on vacation for a week.
Yeah, let's go.
Denny, thanks. I'm from New York and you just said you're way too nice, so we're not used to that. I'm ready. So I just had that this weekend, and what I did was I showed
Now, hang on to what you did. Let's do the role play first.
Okay.
So you're my listing agent, and we've I'm going to work with you, and I want to list it aggressively.
Okay, Denny, I understand that, of course, you see lines outside and houses flying off the market in 2 days. Do you have any idea that in some neighborhoods prices are starting to change?
I haven't read that.
Okay, well, what happens is the data is not published yet. So what I wanted to show you is I want to show you the active inventory right now. And as you hear, there's no inventory. Currently in your area, there's 52 houses on the market. 10 are back on the market and 17 has price reductions. So about 20% of the inventory has already declined. Were you aware of that?
I'm going to stop just right there for a second. And again, this is just maybe my brain. Congratulations on knowing your numbers. Did anyone follow all of those numbers?
Denny, I'm a numbers guy and I wasn't following.
Okay.
You guys got to use, it's kind of like that cayenne pepper. You've got to use numbers very sparingly. You don't laundry list all that stuff. There's no way they're following you. You know what you're saying. I am totally lost and I don't give a flip, really. I want to list my house at 850.
Okay, do you realize that you might be in danger of not getting multiple offers if you choose to list that high?
Well, I can sell it to one of them, can I?
Yes. However, we're starting to see buyers back out because they get accepted offers on multiple properties and they'll change their mind. Or maybe they felt that they were involved in bidding and don't want to pay that high. So if we don't have a backup offer, then you have to put your house back on the market.
Margaret, can you tell me that for 100% certain it will not sell at 800,000?
No, I can give you the average of what's selling in your area. The buyer is going to determine the activity, not me. I don't know if you're going to have 50 people at your front door or 5.
All right, so then if you can't tell me it can't sell at 800, then I want to list it at 800. You want to be the agent that lists it at 800.
That's not the advice I would give you. You're the owner, so my job is to give you the data and you decide what strategy you want to take.
Now, let me ask you, are you like John? Are you a data-driven person?
Actually, it's funny. The client that I was speaking to works in the financial field, and I knew that when I had my appointment with him. It was a 2-hour phone interview. And yes, before this life, I worked on Wall Street.
That is awesome. What percent of people now, let's say that data-driven person is a C personality. Does anybody know what percent of people out there have C personalities?
Very, very small.
5%.
It's a low number.
Maybe 2%.
Hey.
You're a diamond in the rough, bud. That's all.
You're
Actually,
special.
I argue with Kristen on this because she says it's the S's and the C's are the high ones. I thought it was the I's and the S's. Here's my point. Regardless of that, I believe there's fewer data people out there than that more people are not data related. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
Okay, so if you are a data person and it worked really well with you, Margaret, on that conversation for a couple hours with that person, just be careful. It can overwhelm someone. Now I'm going to go at it. Somebody take this again.
Hey, Denny,
Yep.
one small favor. I did send Margaret a message. I would like her to read that question, put in whatever price Denny was thinking. Read that question that I sent to you.
Okay. This is tough. So, all right, I'll give it a shot because that's why we're here. All right, Denny, I understand from my perception of the data, you might be
Read it just like I sent it to you.
on 80% C on my.
No. Above that, the one from the direct message from
Ask
you.
him if we put the home on the market at 850, what happens if the market says no?
So when you look at that question, does that look awkward to you?
Yes.
All right. So watch why John sent this to you. John, just step in for Margaret right now and let's role play this. And here's the issue. Even when the market is demonstrating, it's still going to start to slow. And Margaret, and you guys can have data. I mean, you could be able to get point data all you want. That data is not necessarily going to work on everyone.
Right.
You're going to have to let them discover this on your own because it's going to be the conversation you have when you list it. And here's the other thing, you guys, you're going to have weekly follow-up calls, meaning I don't mean WEAKLY. I'm talking WEEKLY because the home is not sold in a week. So what happens after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and basically you're not in the market with multiple offers. So John, so you asked me the question, what are you going to do if the market says no? Well, I hadn't even thought about that. And the market's pretty hot right now. I didn't think that'd be a possibility.
I get it. And we all think that we'd all like to think that this wave is going to keep going. If it doesn't, what's your backup plan?
Well, my wife wants to be in Orlando for the grandkids. So,
is she going to go by herself?
I don't think that's, I don't think that's a good possibility, although
Okay.
she'd probably enjoy it. Maybe we would, maybe rent out the house and wait for the market to come up.
And that might be a great opportunity for you. Let me ask you, do you need the equity that is in your home now to be able to move to see your grandkids in Orlando? Now,
notice you guys, this is a great thing that the newer folks, I want you guys to get this. Don't fight them on that. Don't say, you never know anyone to rent them or buy them. Have you ever heard about the horror stories? Like, don't fight them on everything. Just let them run. It's kind of like reeling a fish. Well, no, I don't have to sell it to buy down there. I could just rent this out and, wait for the market to come up.
Okay. And, I guess, Denny, the question I've got for you on that, and I get it because there's a lot of people, I've got a lot of clients that are out of town investors and they have no problem with that. How do you feel about managing property from 200 miles away?
Well, can I hire someone to do that?
Sure. It eats into your profit and it eats into your peace of mind. So really the question is, it comes back to, Denny, is do you want to be worrying about a property in somewhere else, some other part of the country, and take that mind space away from your family?
I don't think it's a big deal. There's another card you could be laying. Just because I say I could rent it, there's another thing you guys have got to understand. Where's my pain and waiting in a falling market?
What happens if it doesn't come back to where we are, Denny?
You see there, in a falling market, the pain is if you wait, you're going to get less.
And how long are you willing to wait for it to come back?
Well, okay. Well, number one, I'm not convinced it's falling. So I don't really want to rent it. I mean, if I guess it doesn't sell at 850, I guess we'll have to bring it down, right?
That would be the logical thing to do. And our weekly conversation, Denny, and this WEEK, not WEAK, our weekly conversation, I'm just going to ask you I'm going to ask you one simple question. And that is, we're going to have 3 outcomes when we go to market. We're going to have a little, and then we go in. It's that simple, guys.
And if you don't have the 3 outcome sheet, just put it in the chat and, or just email, we've got to find a way to get this to everyone. You can email me at coachdennygrimes@gmail.com.
Here's what I'll do. Guys, I'm going to put my email in here. If you don't have the 3 outcomes sheet, just shoot me an email and I will get it to you, or I will figure out how to get it on a Google Drive. I used to be technologically inclined. I'm not anymore.
And we're kind of running up on the time frame here. In a falling market, you've not had to have many conversations, hard conversations with sellers, because the last couple of years, the market's been moving up. The question I want you to write down is this, John, let's just reverse roles. You're the seller. If your home was worth less every day, how many days do you want it to sit on the market?
I love that question. Or if your home is losing value every day, how much can you afford to lose?
And that's why probably more than ever you need a 3 outcome sheet, because outcome number 1 is low to no showings, which means you have to reposition. Outcome number 2 is you have showings, no offers. And outcome number 3, it sells. And so you are going to get, in some markets, you're going to be getting there. You may be there already, where you're literally going to put some property on the market and you're going to have an insect problem. You know what the insect problem is going to be? Crickets.
Crickets. By the way, Denny, the file is in the Denny Grimes Master of Real Estate Facebook group.
All right.
In the file section.
Thanks. So let's go to potluck. I mean, I want to talk about that a little bit. Anyone want to cover something? We've got about 5 minutes yet. Something maybe you're dealing with, or something you want to go back to and cover in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
Captain Marco, what's cooking down there? You're muted, Mike.
I think you guys covered everything. I think this was a very good, the good takeaway. I think the big takeaway is, I wrote it down, buyers set the rules. I mean, I understand, the 3 outcomes. We were just on a listing appointment the other day. Matter of fact, Brian Hood was with, and we're still working on that one. And as far as some other inventory goes, I think some of the shifts are happening slower in some of the different markets, whether it's condo, waterfront, inland, and things like that. But yeah, it's been, thank you guys all. It was helpful.
How about a couple other ahas? We got 3 minutes left. And yes, it's Denny Grimes Mastermind, not the Mastery of Real Estate. The Denny Grimes Mastermind on Facebook is where the files are.
Was Brian on this call? I didn't see him.
Yep, Brian's on the call. His camera is off. That's why you didn't see him. There he is.
Watching today, that's all.
So anybody have anything? And anybody have an aha? I mean, talk to me.
Go ahead, Michelle.
The chart, I really like the chart, except for the one exception that from 04, 05, 10 years, it didn't really gel, but what a impactful chart, I thought.
That drawing that Ryan had? Yeah, you guys forget about what I said. It really doesn't. I'm just being a black hat on that. Just use that. You're fine. Yeah, that was a great
Brian, what do you got?
Ryan. Great drawing.
I appreciated the feedback on, don't go crazy with the stats. Boil it down, keep it kind of simple, because not everybody wants to hear a lot of statistical information. So that was helpful for me. Just keep it simple. Thank you.
Good job, Brian. Nice.
I like you could be right, but what if you're not?
I love that. That's a super aha, you guys, because you know what? They might be right. And they may not be. How about you, Margaret? What'd you get out of it? I appreciate you volunteering and participating. You're muted.
Okay, you just muted yourself.
Thanks.
There you go.
This is actually my first jump on this, so that's why I decided to volunteer, because role play is not my thing. The thing that I got out of it was to ask and not tell. Find out what their motivation is.
Awesome.
Short questions, not stories and paragraphs. Let them answer.
Well, and that's great. Like golfers love short putts. Now, why do good golfers have more short putts?
They hit it closer to the hole to begin with.
It is a practice. Yes, you get the ball closer. And so we all start with Stephen King type paragraphs. And the more you work on this, you guys, the shorter your putts, the shorter your questions get. Good aha, Don.
Hey, Denny, a couple quick housekeeping things for the group here. Next week is Good Friday, so we will not be here.
How can it be Good Friday if we're not role playing?
I know, right? The 22nd, we're going to do an experiment. Denny and I will be doing this live at one of the local market centers. So the camera setup will be a little bit different. We're going to have a live audience in addition to everybody here on Zoom. And we're going to, if all goes well, we'll be doing that on the 29th as well. And if it doesn't go well, then, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So, guys, it has been awesome. Denny, it's 2:00 straight up. Go enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Yep, this will be posted on my YouTube channel. If you've not been there, Denny Grimes, The Mastery of Real Estate. Make sure you subscribe. I've got 1.5 years worth of stuff there. This recording will be posted. Go back and look at it anytime you want. Love you, mean it, and be careful out there. Have an awesome week.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great week.